on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. I don't think I could plan this better. I don't think if I could orchestrate and say, all right, left people on the left, I need you to act this way. I need you to focus this way. I don't think I could plan it better than the way it's currently playing out. It makes me really wonder how much higher hand has a play in this right now. Now, there's a lot going on. I've got a couple really, really cool stories, and then I'm going to lead into this, the whole mail-in voting thing. I truly believe this is being done intentionally. I believe it's being done woefully, and I'm pretty sure I think I know what the backup plan is, if you want to call it the backup plan. I actually think it's the original plan all along. Trump's ability, and I don't want to call it 5D chess. I don't think it's that at all. I think Trump finally just embraced the fact that everyone hates whatever I say. Whatever I say, they hate. They're going to fight. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what it is. So let's use that to my advantage. Now, right off the bat, I want to give condolences to Trump's brother passed away. And this man's going through a lot. He's going through a lot for our country. I know there's lots of people that hate him. So no matter what, on top of everything else, he's hated by some and loved by many, and certainly feared by some as well. But I wanted to say, hey, God bless. I wish you the best. I'm sorry your brother passed. And to President Trump, his brother was not just a brother, but it was kind of his best friend. So this is really hard for him right now. And just saw a presser. In fact, I might have just ended prior to me starting to record this. But, you know, he's still moving on day by day. He's still having to be in office. And he just got to see his brother on Friday. Today's Sunday. And his brother has passed away. So God bless you. Thank you, sir. And I'm sorry. God bless. And as he said, I'll see you again. It was actually pretty cool. It is with a heavy heart I share my wonderful brother, Robert, peacefully passed away tonight. He was not just my brother. He was my best friend. He will be greatly missed. But we will meet again. His memory will live on in my heart forever. Robert, I love you. Rest in peace. Pretty beautiful words. Now to get into some good news, and again, that's sad, but some good news. And it's kind of interesting. I think this should be that alarm that goes off to a lot of people, and it's a very easy story to look up. I found it actually through a whole different way, and then I'm like, ooh, let's see if we can find some stories on that. So, what am I talking about? Out of the National Pulse, 20,000 fake IDs seized in Chicago, majority smuggled in from China. China. Foreign agencies going to help maybe make a difference in this election? Bringing in fake IDs? What? From China? We have embassies that they're catching fire in Houston, embassies being closed, changing the flags even. There's some crazy story I saw about that. Nearly 20,000 counterfeit IDs have been seized by U.S. officials in just 6 months. The 6 months leading up to June is what these numbers represent. So January to June of this year, 20,000 in just Chicago of these, with the majority of these shipments are coming from China. And the boons for criminal activity are being funneled into the notoriously violent Chicago, ostensibly worsening the city's chart-topping crime rates. Obviously, this is not helping anybody at all. So yeah, since the beginning of the year, June 30th to June 30th, they're saying there's seized some 1,513 shipments. 1,513 separate shipments with fraudulent documents, a total of 19,888. There's got to be a reason for that number. It's a cool number, if not. And counterfeit U.S. driver's licenses. So U.S. driver's licenses probably going to help people vote, wouldn't you say? Now, voting by mail, of course, we're going to get to, and that's something that they're pushing. But yeah, a lot of fake driver's licenses, that's problematic. So China's active smuggling unlawful items with a potential for serious harm is not an isolated incident. This comes on the heels of CBP's officials busting assault weapons and gun silencer smugglers, all originating from China. A lot of attention's been brought to what China's been doing of late. A lot of attention's been brought to how Biden, Pelosi, and a lot of these different people have been in bed with China. How Hollywood's in bed with China. How we've got these communication devices and these communication apps within our country, within our walls, that currently China is manipulating. Or the fact that they're talking about delisting Chinese stocks on the stock exchange, our U.S. stock exchange. Why? Because they just make up numbers. They don't let us audit. They don't actually use any proper reporting techniques that are for accounting. GAAP, I think, is one of them. They don't do that. They just make up their numbers, and they've actually been caught in a number of places lying about those numbers. There is a huge assault from numerous countries, going after China right now. A lot of people have figured out what's going on. This is how they've been playing this. This is how they've been planning this. The FBI and all these people, the good guys, the white hats, they know what they're looking for, and they've done an amazing job putting a stop to a lot of this. Now, something that's really funny to me, and we've talked a lot about this, Biden is obviously not going to be the president for sure. He's not. He's probably not going to live that long. But if not anything, for some reason, he's going to bow out. Pretty much, I think everybody's on board that this is going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when. And there is a lot of discussion, and I still think to this day, and I am still curious what actually happens. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not going to call myself a psychic here. I'm just saying I'm sure something's going to happen. There's the psychic premonition. But what, and everyone's has it, by the way, I think it's the writing on the wall is what you often call that. But what a lot of people thought this would play out where Michelle Obama would very likely come into play. And maybe that might still happen. I don't know if Kamala's going to get booted and then maybe they're just going to swap out both of them. But Hillary is talking that she's ready to serve in a Biden administration. Former Secretary of the State and defeated 2016 candidate hints at return to D.C. and wants to help fix the U.S. Well, of course, Hillary wants to help fix the U.S. She's been unimportant, uninspiring, and certainly a grumpy Gus since the day of the election 2016, where she still never did come out, and by the way, and say, hey, oh yeah, Trump did win. I concede. Never did. I think the first person ever history, maybe second, but that's like pretty uncommon. And then she's the one that also gave Trump all the crap beforehand, like, well, are you gonna accept it if you lose? Are you gonna be able to handle that? I mean, he wasn't happy about it, but apparently that wasn't what happened, and she lost, and she never stepped up to the plate. Now, my point in all of this is she was very divisive. In fact, she was a huge part. You had your popular vote that were going to vote Democrat no matter what. Okay. And you had a number of people that no matter what were going to vote for a woman because it was a woman president. Awesome. Okay, cool. No matter what. Even with all that, handedly, the Electoral College went to Trump. And the popular vote was only the difference of 3 million votes, which it wasn't huge. It was like, 63 to 60 or something like that. It wasn't a huge difference. She is even extra upsetting nowadays, even more divisive, and she's certainly not going to be okay being a vice president. So, I mean, the joke's going to obviously be day number one that Biden gets sworn in, like a bullet's going to hit him right after he finally finishes saying all the things he's supposed to say. And I'm sure he'll have to repeat them many times. Obviously, the guy's going to be like, all right, so just 5 words at a time. Joe Biden. Yeah, sorry. You told me already. I know. Like, it's going to be tough just getting him through if he does have to come in. But she's already preparing. She's already very hated. I think she's going to actually be more divisive. And I think she is so heavily involved in this whole maniacal, crazy world. She is so heavily invested, her ego so heavily invested, that she cannot stand not being there. It has to be her. She has to be the one that gets to push the button. This woman wants this power more than life itself. Because of that, she is going to betray her own purpose. She is going to destroy the Democrats' small little smidgen Hail Mary pass that we all know they're going to do. Hillary Clinton's going to jack that badly. Now, let's get into the big thing. This is really, I think, important. Big talk, big talk. It's all we keep hearing about. Trump's trying to ruin everything with the mail-in voting. He keeps talking about how we can't trust it. Now we got stuff like stories like this. Post office warns states about risks, delays associated with mass mail-in voting, right? all sorts of problems are going to happen. I mean, I'm telling you, all sorts of stuff. Now, the thing that's funny, one, they're preparing us for this, obviously. Headlines like this, I'm going to show you in a second, all sorts of crazy headlines. Two, they're setting up the situation where they're trying to get more funding for the post office. They're trying to prepare someone to frame any future issues that happen as far as delays if we go down the path of a mail-in vote. And it's a way of pigeoning Trump, they feel, into having to support paying more money for the post office, which Trump seems to be kind of against. And I'm going to point out one thing. One, Uncle is a postal worker, and I love what the post office does, and you guys deliver a lot of stuff. And if it wasn't for all the commercial stuff, who knows if you'd even be viable at all. But we do have companies like FedEx and UPS that do a phenomenal job, that are commercial, that, you know, people pay for, and they've even got somewhat lower rates. But again, like, the post office isn't one of those things where government has to provide something that people wouldn't have otherwise. It seems that we've got other options in place. Maybe it's time for us to rethink how the post office works or their whole entire model. That all being said, I feel like there's a lot of things that they're laying out here. Now, again, the way that Trump works, and I think they give him a lot of credit, but I think it's just him accepting. I think it's the fact that we've got some major help on the intelligence side that's helping frame how we should do this the proper way. I mean, the same people are using it against us. We're using the same technology against them. But Trump realizes that people hate him, and no matter what he says, they're going to go the other direction, no matter what. It's almost like herding cats, right? You'd put your arms out, and you'd be like trying to get them to go in the direction other than what's behind you, right? Like you're trying to suggest them into a direction. Well, Trump does that by saying, this is what I want. I want this. This is what I want. Let's have this. Let's do more of this. Whatever this is, doesn't matter. Instantly, everybody pushes the other direction. Instantly, everybody runs the other direction. Instantly. So he's been talking about how mail-in voting is a bad idea, how mail-in voting is easy to take advantage of, how mail-in voting could have corruption, how mail-in voting could add extra time. Now, when you look up, I did mail-in vote Trump scheme as a search just because I wanted to try to see if I could pin it into a certain direction. And we got Washington Post. These are the headlines. Trump says Postal Service needs money for mail-in voting, but blah, blah, blah. Opinion. Trump's concern about mail-in ballots is completely blah, blah, blah. Trump claims mail voting leads to fraud. He's wrong. The blah, blah, blah. Trump versus USPS. Everything you need to know about the blah, blah, blah. GOP pushing voting by mail with restrictions while Trump blah, blah, blah. These are the headlines. They're preparing us for this moment in our immediate history coming up soon to a theater near you, where mail-in voting is going to be the cause for all of this concern. Now, let's even get a little bit of this nonsense coming on from these, this was George Stephanopoulos. I don't know who this is. We're going to find out who this is.
About this mail-in voting scandal, with these changes that are being made to the post office right now, do they represent a real threat to the health of this election?
It could. I mean, there's a good chance you're going to have huge backlogs of mail across the country as you see these cutbacks in overtime and other changes the Postal Service is making. Now, the Postal Service is equipped to get out billions of pieces of mail. They do it every Christmas. The question is how these cutbacks are going to affect that, combined with moves to limit at what point mail has to be postmarked in order to be counted. I think one thing that is very likely is if we have a close election, even if large numbers of voters are not disenfranchised, it's going to take an awful long time to count those votes, and that could lead to questions about the legitimacy of the election.
All of it, of course, against the backdrop of this Postal Service crisis. We know that the USPS can handle a lot of mail, right? We see it every year around the holidays, but these changes at the post office have a lot of people concerned about what this means for mail-in ballots. What needs to happen to restore potentially public confidence to get things back on track here?
Well, I think number one, what needs to happen to establish public confidence is the president needs to sort of back off on his rhetoric here. I do think he is added to this concern that people have about the mail, but physically it seems as if, you know, it's hard to ignore all these anecdotal reports all around the country, whether it's slow mail in Montana, removed mailboxes in Oregon. There's just a lot of odd stuff happening at an odd time. And I'll say this, Hallie, I think this is extraordinarily risky for the president on the political front, because one of his bases of support is rural America. Well, the Postal Service is extraordinarily not only popular in rural America, it's arguably as important of a lifeline as there is in this country. Slowing down the mail is going to hurt him with voters that are normally very, very supportive of him. I really think he is playing with fire here.
Fortunately, because of the way things are going to actually play out, he's probably going to end up making all the postal workers super duper happy. Now, how do you ask? Well, first off, like I said, they're going to continue to try to blame him for everything. They're trying to get the headlines to say crisis is coming, funding is needed. We've got Pelosi and them that think they're holding these puppet strings over this money. Like, you have to come and meet us with the post office money, or we're not giving you the other thing. But like I keep saying, he's nudging them in a direction. Trump is not an idiot. Trump knows that he's doing this. And I think what's going to happen, this is my call. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again, and I'll probably say it a few more times. And hopefully I'm wrong. Well, hopefully I'm right, really, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But everybody's like, oh, this isn't going to happen. You need to take care of it this way. We've got to go through the mail. There's no other way to do it. So he's got everybody leaning. He's got everybody zigging, and he's going to zag. And the zag's going to be, and this is going to be beautiful, I think, in a few ways, online. We learned a lot from the Obamacare thing when they did that online insurance gathering and the way that site crashed and it couldn't handle having a lot of people on it. A lot was learned through that process. I am sure there is already an online area, an online voting thing that has been built, been set up to deal with the new elections, and probably even set up to be able to change quickly when Biden is swapped out with Hillary or whoever. So they're going to go to a mail-in, they're going to go to an online balloting system, and then maybe some sort of weird way to do it if you can't get to a computer, can't get to a library, whatever. There's probably going to be polling centers that are going to have computers, right? Again, they're going to handle that a few different ways. It's not hard to do. Putting together a site like this that can handle it's not that hard to do either. You would know instantly the numbers. And one of the best parts, you could ask for a few specific data points that would tie you to an ID, a name, an address. It would help with census, and it would also tie you to information to see if it's fraud. This is what's going to happen. Again, he's leaning everybody in this direction. Everyone's like, no, mail-in, no, mail-in, 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 mail-in. He's going to be like, you know what? You're right. All you guys, you're right. We do need to get more money to the mail-in. We do need to get more money to the post office. You're right. That's the only way to handle this, except, how about this? Since we're having a hard time and Congress is out on vacation right now, let's do this. Let's do this. We've been working silently over here to create this web version. We've tested it, and it can handle the volume. We're going to do that instead. We're going to allow people the opportunity to vote from their phones, their computers at home, from a library if they need to. We're going to allow them that freedom to vote safely. Why have to put the mail service through this crisis? Why have to put them under all this pressure? Why have that risk of being able to lose anyone's vote? Let's do something online where we can guarantee that no one's vote is lost. Done. Game over. Drop the mic. Walk away. That's what's going to happen. They think they've got him pinned with the mail-in voting. That's not how this is going to play out in the end. And they can't stop it if he comes up with a better idea that makes more sense and solves the problem better than their solution. This is a done deal. We are winning. They are falling into the trap. They don't realize how obvious this must be because Trump is the opposite of it. Of course, you're going to go the other way. Everyone knows that. Everybody knows that. A 4-year-old at this point could figure out what orange guy said something and everyone's mad, right? Like, duh, 4-year-old figures it out. No big deal. We've got this. Keep pushing. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep watching these shows. Keep talking to people. Keep sharing. Keep liking. Keep subscribing. All of these things make a huge difference. Where we truly go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.